The next person that is coming up is going to be teaching us about our mental well-being. And there's no such season that the word has been seriously used, except in this generation. Oh my God, my mental health. And someone sent me a message from our Delta State office and said he wanted to change the accommodation. Was just saying some things and wrote, and he ended the email by saying, this is to save my mental health, or something like that. I said, oh my God. I didn't know what mental health, all these things were when we were doing our work in those days. I mean, I was pregnant with my firstborn, and I had one carton under the table I used to put my leg. I was still auditing then. I remember I would be doing auditing till like 10:30. The partner will come and review the file. I'm believing. Okay, so we can discuss that with the finance director tomorrow. Please clear all the points. And these are like 13, 14 points. You have to go and redocument. Sometimes you have to go and recalculate, right? And I wasn't thinking mental health, though. But in this generation, as soon as the accurate timekeeper sees 5 o'clock, everything is mental health. All right, so let's bring to stage, to podium. You have the profile already. No other person than Dr. Otefe Edebi. A clap, a clap, a clap, a clap. Thank you for coming.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am excited and delighted to be here this afternoon, and I'm excited to see everyone in the hall. Thank you so much, Ma, for having me this afternoon. It's a privilege to be part of this conference, to be part of the 2.0. So today, my job is simple. So I'm a psychiatrist. I'm also a psychologist. Sometimes people ask me, are you a clinical psychologist? And I say, no, actually, I have a master's degree in managerial psychology, which means it's the psychology of managing people in the workplace. That is what I have a degree in. But because I'm also a medical doctor and I primarily practice as a psychiatrist, I like to tag myself as an occupational psychiatrist. So I will be talking on the subject of managing your mental well-being. Now we're talking about building a rewarding career. I would like to say that a rewarding career or a successful career is a product of making good judgments. A rewarding career. On your journey in your career, what takes you to the place where you feel you know, because rewarding and successful is defined by different yardsticks. So, but it is a byproduct of good judgment. It's a byproduct of good judgment. And good judgment is a product of right thinking and being able to manage your emotions effectively. You cannot make good judgments if you don't have right thinking. For example, you were talking about that it's not just to say contribute. There's a way you contribute. Next time I put up your hand, you'll say next. Because your thinking is not right. So you make good judgments in your career journey because you have right thinking. And that's why your mental health is quite important. I always like to tell a story. In primary 6, I was to represent my house in, you know what I mean by my house, the house in school, to run. What do you call it? No, I don't know the color. I can't remember the color. But I was the fastest in my house, and you had Gabriel. Now, as far as I was concerned, Gabriel should never beat me in a race. So even if I am tired, I would do everything in my power to win Gabriel. So I did the heat to qualify, but I did not know the rules of the heat. So I came second to the last. I think I still won Gabriel, sure. My own is just beat Gabriel. That's the most important. Yes. And only to find out that they take from third to the last and above. So I was disqualified. But because I was the fastest in my house, they still forced me to run the race. Now, in my school back in those days, there was, I can't remember the guy's name, but he was the fastest. So we all knew who was going to come first. Like being in an organization, you already know this thing. So we knew who was going to come first. We knew who was going to come second. We had the fastest runner, the second fastest runner. But what we were not sure of, I don't remember the name of the first or the second. This story for me is very significant. But I remember Segun and Henry. Those were the two likely third fastest people. So first is already taken. Second is already taken. Third is between Segun and who? Henry. So as a person who does not like failure in life, even at primary 6, I did not want to disgrace my village members. So there's no need to run in a race that you are going to come fourth or fifth and they will not give you any reward. So if Segun comes third, Henry will most likely come fourth. If Henry comes third, Segun will likely come fourth. So I knew my place already, fifth. And we're only 5 in the race. So why run a race that you will come last? So what I did was that, and so when we're getting ready to run, here comes Gabriel. He wants to run, Gabriel, you're not supposed to run. I'm the one running for the house. He said he wants to run. I was very happy. You can take village shame. I can't take village shame. So I decided, Gabriel, run on my behalf. After all, I'm faster than you, Gabriel. So we know who will come first. And true to the prophetic statement, the race started. First, giving. Second, giving. Third was now between, as I was watching the race, was now between Segun and who? Henry. You know the name too. Were you there? Okay. Oh, it's just the story I'm telling you. Okay. So there they were battling out between the two of them. And then finally, close to the end of the race. Now, first was secured like I envisaged. I'm a very calculated person, very smart, very intelligent for my liking, even back then. First came first, like I said. Second came second. Third was between these two people. As they were about crossing the finish line, and strangely, they were both, side by side. How did you know? I said you were there. Gabriel passed through Segun and Henry and came third. Now, you see how you were surprised? Me too, I was surprised. But can I ask this? If I was in that race, what position would I have come? Huh? Sorry? I said I'm faster than Gabriel. Say I will come. What? Third or? Someone said third or second. Someone else said what? Those who said fifth, why? There was nothing that would have made me come third or fourth. Because the moment I start running that race, even it's not so much about what I'm doing on the outside. My mind already says, you know your place. Even if you are making an attempt to pass them, your mind will be advising you, my friend. So I knew I would have come. You see, but Gabriel did not have that limitation in his mind. I didn't know these things then, but I always tell that story because that story for me connects with the power of your mind. So no matter how gifted the person is, no matter how talented the person is, if he has poor judgments as a result of poor thinking and poor ability to manage their emotions, because it's not just about right thinking. You can have the right thoughts, but if you are not good with managing your emotions, you may not make it to the top. So the World Health defines your mental health as your capacity to do these 4 things: to realize your ability, so to be the best version of yourself. So I always like to say, be the best version of yourself, because no matter how fine you are, there's usually somebody finer than you. My friend said they learned 2G to the last. Then they brought 3G. Then they learned 3G to the last. Then those who only did not know jack. It's just like nowadays, there are people that don't know how to drive manual. Are you aware of that? People don't know how to drive manual. You cannot be argued that we that drove manual, we are the ones that know how to drive car. You will not even see a car of manual. So being your best version It's all that your mental health is really about. Be your best. Be you. And there's so much about you really don't know about. Someone said you are 1,000 times more inside than you actually realize. That's why they say in the grave is where a lot of talents, people die without realizing their best fashions. And if your mental health is not in the best place, you may go to the grave without being all that you could be. Number 2 is your capacity to cope with the normal stress of life. I often jokingly say that those who wrote this, who came together, did not know about Lagos State, but we forgive them. But they say to cope with the normal stress of life, to work productively and fruitfully. You can't be your best version in your workplace if your mental health is not in the best place, and to contribute to your community. So why is your mental health important? These 3 things I just wrote down for this purpose. Mental health illnesses such as depression and anxiety are among the most frequent causes of occupational disability. What is disability? Disability is the lack, you cannot assess your world the way you should assess your world. So the man who is impaired in sight cannot assess this whole the way the person who does not have an impaired sight will assess this world. The same thing for someone who cannot walk. The person who has depression cannot assess his fullest capacity like he would, because some things will be limiting the person, not necessarily just on the outside. Sometimes it's on the outside, but also the person won't be able to enjoy all that they can be. And is the major cause of occupational disability. So there's a concept called presenteeism. Those of you who are in HR, you know that you stay in the office 8 hours. We all know that it's 8 hours they give you, but you and I, before God, know how many hours you are really doing, because your mind is not there. You are not in a good place. Can you imagine if you have stress at home, or you have challenges, or your boss is worrying you, or just the fact, there's one, how many of us are bankers here? Work in the banking industry, okay, because there's one thing they used to call NPR, Abi? I went somewhere to give stress management talk. Everybody was calling, I said, who is the man? They say it's not a man, no, but everybody was scared of NPR. You know, so you can imagine if you have a boss every time you are going to work, Monday morning, your heart is beating. You even miss your bus stop sometimes because you are stressed. You know, another thing is said that it can affect a person's confidence and identity at work. Have you ever gone for a job and your mind, I remember many years ago in 2014, I was going for an interview. Not necessarily an interview. I was going to look for work in a hospital on the island. And even my mind was telling me that time that you will not respect yourself. That's how you'll be doing more than yourself. Don't you see the quality of doctors working there? Do they look like you? Those ones, they look fresh, like they don't even use the toilet. You that grew up in First Stack, you too, you are carrying yourself to go there. Your mind will just be telling you when you have a confidence problem. And confidence sometimes is not even a function of whether you are brilliant or not. There are some people, they are not brilliant. But if you hear where they are giving presentation, where they are talking, they always have points. In fact, I heard one person say recently, he said he knew the answers, but he was always afraid to say the answer. Sometimes when somebody else says it, in his mind, he'll say, yes, that's the answer. But he won't say anything. But over time, he found out that he became timid to speak the answer. Then one day he discovered something. Someone else stood up. I sat. And the person stood up and said nonsense. And the teacher said, okay, that's correct. He was shocked. He said, even someone that is giving wrong answer, as long as he's confident. You need to see people on YouTube or Instagram say nonsense, but with a lot of confidence. And they have full followers. And you think you are smart. But if you talk now, everybody will say you are just beefing them. You are just beefing them. So confidence, there's something about confidence that increases, it affects capacity to work productively, absences, and ease with which you retain and even gain work. You go for an interview, you have anxiety problem. Or maybe even just simple things like they need you to go somewhere and you have phobia for flying. Or you have phobia for certain kind of spaces. You are limited. I remember there was a footballer like that every time, I'm not a football fan, so those who know should know. I'm I don't know. But there was a footballer that had some level of limitation in terms of where he had to go to because he had, I think one is sports person, either a footballer or a basket, this thing. Sorry? A footballer, Abi? Do you know the name of the footballer? Okay. Who is that? Eh? My brother, it's only David Beckham there is, so there's no Dennis Beckham. Even me that don't know football, I know there's no Dennis. It's David. But I thank you so much. But it limits you. That's all I'm trying to say. And then finally, depression and anxiety cost the global economy over $1 trillion each year, predominantly from reduced productivity. So your mental health is very important. I'm not here to just tell you about this. So what are some of the risk factors in your workplace that can affect your mental health? So yes, we joke a lot and we laugh, we talk. For those who are a certain generation, you know, we that are young in heart, even though I'm not really young like that, you know. But thank God, God blessed me with, even though my wife and I, we are just 3 years apart, we are world apart in terms of me, I'm old soul. She's youngie, so it helps me to connect with this thing. But as an employer of labor, I've also come to appreciate the place of the mental health of people. You know, sometimes you have the best minds leaving your organization, best people, not because they are bad. There's a typical story. There are talents that sometimes leave your organization. I'll give you a case in point. I remember when I was leaving my organization, you know, I always say that some people, they left their jobs. Some people left their jobs. Some people, their jobs left them. I belong to the other class. The job left me. I didn't leave the job. So in 2013, I was out of job. You know, but before I left that place, I worked for the federal government. Now, before I left in 2013, from 2004 to 2013, I never looked for work one day. So for those first 9 years of my career, if you say you don't have work, I could not relate. I could give you motivational talk on the 10 steps on how to get a job and all of that before that time. But when I lost the job and I did not work for 9 months, I know somebody here may say your only was 9 months. I've not worked for 2 years. Please, we are not dragging. We are not dragging at all, please. I'm just trying to say I understand, I can relate. And one day I was saying this, it took me 9 months, but I realized actually before I got a proper job from 2013 was 2017. That's when I had a proper job. So I did a lot of, as a medical doctor, I hustled. That time, if you say you want to see me, and you say you are in Ikorodu, that where's your hospital? I say, where are you? I can come, you know, and I'm going to, but it's good. Like you said, those things made you better. So these are some of the things that can affect one in your workplace. There are many of them: lack of support, underuse of your skill, excessive workload, long social hours, and all of that. You know, in China, do you know that in China, from 12 o'clock to about 2 o'clock, they go to sleep? If you don't believe me, go to Huawei. Huawei is here in Lagos. Go to Huawei. They have mattress. I've gone there before. They have mattress. Around 12 o'clock, they go and sleep. And don't say it outside, though. Don't say it outside as well. But it seems as if they are more productive than us. Abi? But we will hustle throughout. We even take pride in that I close at 12 midnight, I resume at 3. Well done, sir. As productive as you are, China goes to sleep at 12 o'clock. But yet they are still more productive. To just tell you about these things, I think it's important we leave here with something that we can take that will help with our mental health. The first thing I will talk about is recognition. You can't begin to change what you first have not recognized. And I'll talk about recognition in 2 different ways in particular. First of all, to recognize the signs and symptoms of some of the mental health issues. I'm not here to tell you about the signs and symptoms. Many people often think that when you talk about mental illness, it is one condition. No, there are anything that borders on your thinking, on your behavior, and on your feelings, your mood, that causes some level of distress, dysfunction, deviation, and is dangerous, and is persistent, is a mental health issue. Anything that borders on your BTM, your behavior, your thinking, and your mood. So there are many things we can talk about, symptoms of mental illness. So first you need to identify. So when we talk about there are mental illnesses, there's even stress. Sometimes some people have gone on in life and suffered burnout because they did not take these things very seriously. They didn't take these things very seriously. So to recognize, am I being stressed? So yes, that you are being stressed, that is not the end of everything, but at least identify it. Because one day you just wake up and you don't want to do that work again. You will just wake up and you are upset with the customers. You are upset with people. You are tired. That's where you hear someone say that, am I the only one? Because they are burnt out. They are carrying so much on themselves. There are people who have built organizations and were angry. They built the organization, but they were bitter and angry because they had suffered a lot of maybe brutalizations and everything from everywhere. So recognize. Also recognize where your stress is coming from. Now, recognizing your stress may not be so simple. But let me just leave it as that. Recognize it. You may say, my stress, I know my stress. My stress is money. If I have more money, I will not have stress. But your stress may not just be money. Your stress may be lack of planning. I was telling a group of people yesterday, and I asked them, there were 7 of them. I said, think of anybody that has money like that, wealth. We're talking about success in terms of money, that you know. So they thought. I said, please mention what industry. All 7 of them had 7 different industries. So I said, you see, the money is not tied to any particular industry. I now ask them again. Now go around again. This same industry that you say you know someone succeeding, do you know somebody also not succeeding in that same industry? Say yes. So I said, so you see that it's not in the industry in itself that the money is tied. So someone may say, this is where the money is. When I was starting up a hospital and I went to the government, they told me, because I run a mental health hospital, and they told me the woman wanted to beat me, the woman in the Alausa. She said, you cannot do only mental health. I said, but that's my skill. He said, no, you must do general medicine. Mental health does not succeed alone. Well, I don't know about that. I have over 40 staff now, and we are doing fairly well. That's all I can say. You know, it's just 6 years that we have been doing. But the woman told me, you can never make it. Say, please, ma, I cannot go and do what I don't know. This is the one I know. So there's no industry. Someone says, okay, it is here, that it is in the finance. You go there. So making money is one thing. To generate money is one thing. So all I'm just trying to say is that recognize where your stress is coming from. Now recognition also too, let me also stretch it a bit. Recognition, we talk about emotional intelligence. Recognition is also understanding your own self. There are some places where you will flourish, and there are some places you cannot flourish. One of my, a person I grew up with, he was my senior just some years, but, you know, so like a mentor. He's a popular person relatively, at least in some of our small circle here. He became a chartered accountant at 21, and I think at 26 was a regional bank manager. At 36 he was already acting CEO of Stanbic IBTC Pension. Some of you may know him if I just leave it at that. You know, today he's retired. He's barely 48 years old. He has retired. He's living the life. You know, well, I can't remember why. I was too tripped telling the story, and I forgot the reason I told the story. But no problem. You know, but one of the things, so I remember now. He said something. He said, why he succeeded, if you look at his life now, 28, regional bank manager, 36, already CEO of a big, this Stanbic IBTC Pension, not this thing. You say, Olomba, sorry, my God, that's what Olomba, see my life. But he said something, he said, the first person he worked for, he worked in Stanbic most part of his life, actually believed in him. So he had a boss who believed. When you work with some bosses that don't believe in you, I mean to have not believed in some people, so it's not just boss that didn't believe in you. I've also worked with people I don't believe in. So, but what I'm just trying to say is that know and understand yourself. understand yourself. If you understand yourself, you will understand some kind of organizations that you will excel in. And as you go higher in your career, that's one thing you should appreciate more and more. Understand yourself. Understand your weaknesses. Because if you also don't manage your weaknesses, you will be the same things that you said people did to you, you will do even 10 times more. And you destroy a lot of people if you don't understand yourself. So recognition is the first thing. The second thing, so I said recognize the stress, recognize the real problem, recognize yourself. Understand yourself is very important. The second thing I would like to talk about is problem-solving approach. This has been said over and over again. When Madam Chair, like I like to call her, started, I said, I don't know why you invited me. All the things you have said is what I plan to say. Then you also came, you now said what I want to say. But solve problems. Now let me talk about problem solving. So in stress management, there are 2 ways you manage your stress. 2 ways. And those are the 2 things I want to talk about. First is problem solving, which is look at the challenge and solve the problem. All this, my mental health, as much as I appreciate I'm a mental health person, as much as I appreciate my mental health, the real problem sometimes is that stay and solve the problem. I remember, I'll give you a simple, because of time, I have 5 minutes, I remember when I was working somewhere, my boss, every time was stressing me, I was working in the government. So one day, it's good to have conversation with yourself, not to the extent that you may require my service, but you understand what I mean. But what I mean is that I sat down one day and I came up with this bright idea that the reason why my boss had a problem with me was because I was not Yoruba, because I was working at Belkuta. You see, when you have, that's why I say right thinking, good judgment out of right thinking. That's a stupid thing, but sorry, but you understand me. So I came to a conclusion that I was not Yoruba. That's why he did not like me. That's how some conclusions some of us have come to, is because I'm this, because like that. So, but my mind now told me, he said, but what is he complaining about? He said, he's complaining I'm coming late. So I'm talking to myself. I said, but I'm not the only one coming late. Now there are many. It's government work it's not the work that anybody who takes government work seriously. We all come late. So my mind said to me, but do you come late? I said, yes, we all come late, but we all come late. And it's because I'm Yoruba, but my mind said, but do you come late? Don't shout it, do you come late? I said, yes, I come late. So he said, stop coming late, finish. It's not about Yoruba or anything, just stop coming late. He said, my boss shouts too much, my boss shouts. I don't like when somebody shouts at me. Forget the shout, what are they shouting about? Focus on what they are shouting about. Leave all the shouts. He said, I don't have money. Go and find out how to manage what you have, not what you don't have. In fact, let me quickly say this, because I was preparing, a thought came to me, because I don't know whether I will have time to say it again. Have you ever felt like an imposter, like you don't deserve to be here? Have you ever felt like that? So what struck me is that sometimes that thing doesn't leave you, even when you go very high. It doesn't leave you. You go I went somewhere recently, I was a facilitator. I spoke. We were 3 of us. So I spoke, somebody else spoke. When the person finished speaking, they said to the guy, it was a big organization, they said to the guy, great presentation, wonderful. That's the other guy, not me. Great presentation, wonderful presentation. I learned so much from your presentation. And finished, after saying, then the woman looked at me. Your morale will just go down. My God. So it never leaves. But then, recently, it struck me that one of the reasons why you have an imposter syndrome is because you are focusing on what you don't have, not what you have. You can't be everything to everyone. So yes, you are on a journey. Focus on what you are bringing to the table, not what you are not bringing to the table. So yes, I may come to the table. I may not know what you know, but there's something I also know. So build and focus on that. Don't feel like you are inadequate. Well, you feel inadequate because you are focusing on what you don't have. Try and focus on what you have. And there's something you have. Everybody has something to bring. So finally, emotional reducing techniques. So first technique is problem solving. And this is far more effective than the second one. No? This is that first one, problem solving. Look for the problem, analyze it. How else can I look at solve the problem? So people just like to shout and complain about this thing. Solve the problem. Oh, things are bad. I went to an organization recently and someone said he's waiting for the fuel price to come down. I said, how? I said, in which country? Sorry, which country? Since you have been living, I was talking with my team members, and I told them that was in June. I started a conversation with them. In beginning of June, I told them things don't ever get better. The tough doesn't pray for things to get easier. The tough just keeps building their capacity. I went to the gym last year, not this year. You clearly see it was last year. Abi? And when I tried carrying one particular lift, I could not carry it. So I thought maybe there was something wrong with the lift. Until I started, after 1 month, I was carrying that one, carrying the things bigger. So I knew that it was never the lift that was the problem. It was my capacity. So build capacity. When you build capacity, the things that look big, the things that look overwhelming, that's how they'll be sending message that happy school fees week at a certain time. You to be happy that, okay, it's not only... You know that punishment those days when they tell all of us to kneel down is sweet. You'll be gisting with yourself. But if it's only you they tell to kneel down, it will be tough. Don't be following the crowd, though. Build your own capacity. So finally, reframing. I won't talk about these techniques because I just feel that I don't have time to say everything. I'm just going to leave these things here. This is a second way of dealing with issues. First, and the major one, is solve the problem. Look into what is really the issue. Is it a capacity problem? Yes, you may not be a master now, but keep working at it. Don't focus on what... If someone is telling you about the things that we are designed to point out what is defective. That's how we are designed. Everybody is. But be kind to yourself. Those are the things you practice in reframing. Practice to relax. Learn to relax. How do they say? Problem, not the finish. So learn to relax. Don't take life too seriously. Don't take yourself too seriously. Let me even end with this. Somebody said that at 18, you are so concerned about what people think about you. Forget the age. You just take the lesson. At 40, you don't send what people think about you. Then at 60, you finally discover that all this while, nobody was thinking about you. Nobody cares. So all that time you were going between, what are they saying, what are they not saying? We have our own problems, I beg. It's not your problem we're thinking of. If we talk about you today, that's how a woman jumped from 3rd Milan Bridge because her sex tape leaked some years ago. You remember the story, I mean? Some of us remember the story. But we don't even remember the woman. Some of us do. If you remember, God knows why you remember, but... I'll just leave it at that. But that is how life is. Build capacity. Whether you pray, I told it's a group of people yesterday, I said whether you pray or you don't pray, good times and bad times must happen. But when you build capacity, and you build resilience, like she said, those bad times, you will cruise through it. Not because they are not happening. And so stop all the prayer like let bad thing not happen. Bad thing happens to good people. And good thing happens to bad people. And good thing happens to good people. But if you build your capacity and build your mental resilience, you'll be fine. Thank you very much.